times we think of ourselves as being civilized and people before us as being uncivilized, now whatever you want to call them. It used to be that the definition of somebody uncivilized was they were pagan. It was said in a negative, snarling way, instead of realizing that it meant they were peasants of the land. There wasn't anything negative there at all. And we've always thought of ourselves as better than when we look backwards. And I had asked Annie if she wanted to say something about Samhain. I'll ask also Dr. Ayleen if she'd like to say something about Samhain. Because that is the beginning of Halloween. I don't know how many of you know that it was Halloween was based on Samhain. And what happened is that when the Christians came into Great Britain, they then started another holiday, which was called All Hallows Eve, and that became Halloween. So we have these two energies there. And it must have been a very interesting time when you had what they would call the old religion and then the new religion coming in. Well, we have that going on all around the world. We have people thinking that their religion is better because it's older, or their religion is better because it's newer. And what I want you to know is each one of these are different steps that we're taking. As many of you know, part of my raising was being a Baha'i. And as a Baha'i, all the temples have 9 entrances. And they have temples all over the world, in every continent. And that's to represent each religion. So when you go there, you can go into any door. They're all open and acceptable to you. But I think the greatest gift that we have here at the center is to know that we may only have 2 doors, but we have openings in our heart for every religion. So, which one of you would like to talk a little bit about Samhain first? Okay.
Okay.
This is our associate pastor, Reverend Ann.
I'm going to move over the frame a little bit.
You can talk about Samhain, and we'll talk about something that's happening with Halloween.
Okay, I'll talk a little bit about Samhain. So I have been a student of many different paths. So I believe in a lot of earth religions, a lot of things where, the wheel turns. I don't know if anybody noticed, it doesn't matter if we change the clocks or not. It still gets dark earlier. We haven't set the clocks back yet, but it's still dark at 7 a.m. right now, and it's getting dark at 5 p.m., so 5 or 6 p.m. So, we recognize that the wheel turns, the earth turns, and everything has a season. And one of the things about Samhain is that it's a time when, it's almost like a Rosh Hashanah, in a way. Rosh Hashanah being the Jewish New Year. It's kind of sort of the time where you're looking back on where you have been this year. It's also a time when the mists, the veils become very, very, very thin. And it's the time when you can commune more easily with those that have passed on, with spirit that has, and those that you want to communicate with. And back in the days when Samhain was celebrated, it was a time of what they called the ending of the god for a time period. Because as it got darker and so on, we had to have faith that the days were going to become longer again, that we were going to have a good harvest, that everything was going to be in fine shape, and that our harvest was going to make it through. And it was a time when the female energy really, in a lot of ways, was there to make sure that all the food was separated out, everybody kept what they needed to keep, and so on and so forth. So it was a time of celebration and yet introspection. A time of recognizing that the dark is not a bad thing. The dark is a time of in learning, inside learning. The dark is a time of being able to reconcile with yourself and with those that you feel that you haven't necessarily reconciled with. And so this is a time when we can just start to plan for new things. And I believe that, and Ayleen is going to come on and talk about this a little bit. But from what I recall from a lot of my Druid training, which, you know, I think Druidism is very similar to Wicca in a lot of ways, is that it's the new year. So like I said, it's like a Rosh Hashanah. It's very much a new year of a time of reckoning for yourself and going within, finding where the right places are for yourself, giving love, giving energy. And in the days when the trick-or-treating, how did trick-or-treating get started and all that kind of stuff, a lot of that was because we wanted to light up the night, and we would use pumpkins or things like that to put candles out to keep them safe. But also people would wear masks because the veils were so thin that they were concerned that spirit might come and take them through. And so in order to do that, they would fool the spirits. And that's one of the reasons why they wore masks and they wore costumes. And it wasn't that, people were saying trick or treat or anything. It was more of an offering. People would offer you food. Nobody is to go hungry at this time of year. We have plenty. Why should you go hungry? We have a lot, so, come to our home. Let us share with you. But the masks were more to fool spirit and to keep spirit from pulling you over to the other side. And that was really where a lot of that came from. So I actually love this kind of time of year. I love the autumn in general. And it's just really a great time for, I feel, introspection. So thank you.
Thank you.
And while you're doing that, Laura, do you think later on you could say a little bit about Dia de los Muertos?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
This is so spontaneous at the church.
So spontaneous, and it's like, okay, I'm sitting in a chair and I find out I'm speaking. All right. Yes, as Annie said, this is the new year. This is the time when it is that point where anything, if you haven't done it by the year, you're done. You're not doing it that year. But it's about looking at what it is that worked, what it is that didn't work. Among the Celts, it was very much focused on the agricultural and community aspects. The idea that, certain aspects of the harvest were more helpful than others. And it's more so in looking at what didn't work in the fields. What was it that was not productive? And making a note saying, okay, we don't need to carry this into the new year. We don't need to carry this into this practice, but we need to learn from it. And so a big part of me, and thank you so much for bringing the Druids into the meditation. That's been a very active, energetic field for me right now for a lot of different reasons. And one of them is really looking at what it is that no longer serves. And that can be a very hard thing because we can have attachments to what no longer serves. And it's about being able to release those attachments because the year has ended. We now are moving into the place of, this is the time for introspection. It's the time to consider what it is that you want to carry in, creating intentions. And, that idea of the sharing of the food, among the Celts. Once you figured out what you needed, then anything left over was made available to community members who perhaps were not able to get such a good harvest. Maybe, someone who had losses in their family so they didn't have enough help in the fields. The community survived or failed together. And once those doors were closed, once the longhouses were shut in, and once the fires were stoked, and you knew that, the animals were moved in there, you were going to be living with the animals and everybody else locked in. So it was also a time for family. It was also a time that before that door was closed, you had to resolve issues that you have with someone, because it was considered very bad to take an issue or an anger with someone into the place where you were going to be, staying, that was going to be protecting you. And, and that was, they didn't want people pulling out axes and going at each other because they'd gone cabin fever. So the whole idea was, it's like, no, you resolve this. You let it go. And that idea of forgiveness and letting go of what no longer serves, which included, resentments, animosities. It included hurt feelings. If someone has hurt you, you are obligated to go and tell and speak to that person before the two of you went together into what was considered a sacred space. It was a time of stories. It was a time of passing on the wisdom from the old to the young. But mostly it was recognizing that you survived another year, no matter, it may not have been pretty, but you survived it and you gained wisdom from it. And now it was your duty to share that wisdom. So this is a tremendously special time. It's a tremendously energetic time. And, you know, I wish you all, you know, the happiest of New Years.
Thank you, Elaine.
So I just wanted to quickly also say that another reason for the food, and I think that Laura will probably mention this as well, is to help feed the spirits that are passing along so that they don't go hungry.
Yeah.
Laura?
I'm gonna,
You're gonna speak next,
I'm
or
gonna
more?
speak next to
Okay. Ooh, okay, we are
This
ready.
is round robin religion. One of the things about Halloween, Halloween's the fastest growing holiday in America. And they are finding that people get behind Halloween for so many different reasons. The dressing up is fun. The being able to go out and do something you might not have usually done just because you're wearing a costume of some kind.
Lean into the mic.
And they can lean into the mic, okay. But the Americans are going to spend approximately $8 billion on Halloween
Wow.
this year.
With a B?
With a B. B. And it is now, being the fastest growing holiday, everybody's getting into it. I mean, you might have noticed more ads than you've ever seen about Halloween. I don't know about you, but when we went trick-or-treating when I was young, we would get just about everything they had in the house at the time. You know, we got apples, we got popcorn, we got, sometimes we got a nickel. That was a big deal in the, you know, in the very early 50s, is to get a nickel. There were so many things, but it was so fun to be in costume and come up and say trick or treat. I never was told what the trick could be. You know, yeah, you know, I was a little fat little girl. I wanted the treat. I never thought about doing a trick of any kind. And but when the baby boomers came, it started changing because there were a lot more empty nesters. There weren't quite as many little kids that you felt comfortable having them go out by themselves. The energy changed, and adults started opting out to do more things at Halloween. We started having more parties, more things. And then, one of the things that really has become significant are the many haunted houses that they have. This has become a huge, huge industry all over the United States. Well, besides people loving to be scared, I've never quite understood that. You know, just don't say boo to me in a loud voice, and I don't know what you're gonna get. I don't like being scared, but some people really love being scared. And so this thing with haunted houses, they have conventions of people that come together to find out how to improve their haunted houses.
Right.
They have 5 conventions in the United States for the haunted house. And, you know, I don't know how many of you done Great America. Annie's son Rob and his wife Katie used to do the Great America, what's it called?
Haunt.
Uh-huh.
It's called Haunt at Great America.
Haunt the Great America.
Yeah.
But there's so much about them that I just loved, because these haunts, you know where you're going, you know what's going to be there, you know you're going to be safe. And kids that are a fairly good age, 11, 12, 13, whatever, they think they've really done something exciting. Well, that's that age where they don't know if they want to trick or treat, but they want the goodies.
Yeah.
But they also want to be thought of as an adult. So, and nowadays, you know, it used to be you could put a video game in a room and put out some dark curtains and you had a haunted house. Well, now they're getting special FX set designs. They're getting people that are professional haunters. They have to hire some people to come and scare folks, you know, and so what's happened is that today we have more and more Hollywood movies coming out around this time, like this Jamie Lee Curtis's Halloween is one of the best-selling scary movies of all time.
Yeah,
And-
it's great.
Yeah, and I mean, it's amazing. This woman is in her 60s and she's starring in a movie. I like that. And so just think of this. one of the things that has come out of all of this is people doing more things together. And I think that's wonderful. When you can have parties, you can have events, you can do things like that. Now, as I mentioned, when this came about, with Samhain, and when the Christians came into the area, they did All Saints Day and All Hallows Day, All Hallows, Hallows, and that's where we get the word Halloween. But in Mexico, we're taking the idea of the Day of the Dead and really spending time talking to the dead. And that's what the ofrenda here is about. It's on 3 levels, and it is set up to honor the Day of the Dead. And I happened to find a picture, you know, we love, but I thought that she was symbolic of some of the costuming. Because my son today is at Forever Hollywood, and that is the Forever Hollywood Cemetery. And it has now become something that people travel from all over the world to go. You know, you're there in the cemetery, and they have music, and between Forever Cemetery and Alvera Street. This is a huge weekend with every kind of food and drink and music. It's fantastic. And one thing that I found that it was originally an Aztec holiday, and it was dedicated to somebody whose name I cannot pronounce, Mictintecutli, and she was a goddess of death. And that's where we got it was based on that. And I know that we have this wonderful Laura who's able to pronounce that name, and I'm going to introduce Laura Marshall, who just came by.
How timely.
It's very easy. MICT, whatever, Mictintecutli. Mictintecutli is the Lord that keeps the gates of the afterlife. And Mecanticihuatl is her wife. Cihuatl means what?
We want you to speak in the mic so we can.
Yeah. So Mecanticutli, the Lord of the gate,
In the after death. And Mecanticihuatl, his wife, the lady. So when you do this, when you go to cemeteries, you kind of invoke Mecanticutli and Mecanticihuatl. It's not easy. Kutli. Mecanti. Siwatl. Lord and Lady of the afterworld. You know, come and open the doors. Come and tell us. Come and let us come in. As Doris is saying, you know, this is pretty much the traditional offering, the traditional way to set it. Mexicans have celebrated this for the we communicate with the dead. The Aztecs were like, they call them the discarnate, okay, the discarnates. And also that means a complete belief, a complete certainty that yes, you are not just this body. You are not this body. So then this first one here is the physical body. That is where you walk, that is where you are, take roles, that's where you are male, female, that's where you're fat, you are ugly, that's where you're rich, you're poor, okay? You come to do all these things here. A lot of these things are attributes of the body. When you die, and everybody is going to drop this one, okay? There's no escaping it. That one will go down to Mother Earth, which it belongs, you know, because you're made of earth and wind and water and fire, and all that will go down. So then, what's going to be left of you? Your bones. Who you are. Who you are. The bones of you. Once you get all these ugly nose, first nose, big boobs, little boobs, skinny legs, fat legs, whatever, you're the bones, okay? You're all the same. You're all the same. You move into, you raise to your astral realm, the second body that we have, the astral. Now, the astral realm is very interesting. It has 3 layers. That one is the hard one to get out of, guys. This one is the one you go from here to, okay, you finish your whatever it is that you're doing here, your body gives up, you go down, but your astral body goes to the astral plane. And this is where you keep your image. It's all, at this point, it's all these energy patterns imprinted in this energy called you, okay? So then you are here, and if you see the movie Coco, if you haven't seen it, please, I beg you, go and see it, because it tells you exactly what this astral body is gonna be like, astral world will be like. You're gonna have the one who was a singer here is gonna be a singer out there, and the one who was a bad one here is gonna be a bad one there, and the one who's having fun here is gonna be a good one out there, etc., etc. And you get permission to come down to this level. Now, once you refine by coming and going and coming and going, once you refine your vibrations to the high vibrational subtleties of spirit, then you might, when you become a saint, okay, you might rise to your causal body, to the next world of spirit. This is another body that we have to. Even this one to merge fully with God, even that one is going to have to dissolve, okay? But meantime, you spend your life here and there, and you come back now. Now, I'm going to be a woman now because, it's much easier to work out my issues, You come down as a woman. And then you say, no, I'm going to be a black person. So you come out as a black person to learn those. You come out here, the bones of who you are, you are nothing else but bones. So then you are there, and so on. So then is this play of why you are here, why you come here, why you have to come back, okay? Why you you get, and you give love, and that's what's all about. And the whole problem, the whole drama, why you got it, why you didn't, why you gave it, why you didn't give it, okay? That's where the whole drama becomes about here. When you get that clear, and you get your, we call it, I love this, your BS in order. And yeah, it's got BS, but it's also your belief system. Your belief system that keeps you, oh well, I really, to be worthy, I have to wear a hat that is worth, $300 or whatever. And I have to be skinny because otherwise I'm not going to be worth it, whatever. It's your BS, it's your belief system that keeps you doing these things. Now, why is so bad? The American Indians, which is really where all this trickled down to Mexico. The American Indians who say it's very bad to go to the other side as you're angry with someone, and that because of what's going to happen, you're going to take that anger out here, you're going to have to come back, maybe even as a worse whatever. You're not going to have the time to work out that karma, to work out that issue or whatever, to refine your energy, to bring your vibrations high enough so that you can reach the next level. So then you have to keep coming back. And that's when you come in and start molesting people. The ghosts, the almas en pena, animas en pena, we call them the penance, the ones that are doing penance. They are here latching on you because, I really want another cigarette, and so I latch on you because you are open, and they're going to give you addictions, they're going to give you, these are the entities that Corky works with so magnificently, and she has. So please, for by all means, if you are having any problems or whatever, check that side of it too, okay? Yeah, because it might be something else, but make sure that it isn't that somebody has attached to you and is making you be depressed or is making you do all these things. Now, there are exercises, there are all sorts of things, and everything we do in this center pretty much addresses, these quirks, these things that don't allow us to be completely happy, don't allow us to be completely blissful, because it is in that bliss, it is in that happiness that we're going to find God. We're not going to find it when we are hating somebody, You hate someone, your energy is being, and you're out there, and so on. So then, why do you want to do, the Day of the Dead gives you an opportunity to do all that. You should see people on the cemeteries. They come in with the song, you like the Llorona, mama, so I'm gonna give you Llorona, yes, Llorona, Llorona, ta-da-da, whatever. And that day that you hit me, ta-da-da, and you're talking to your mom, okay? You're talking to your mom, and I know that da-da-da, whatever, so you may actually work things out. And if you don't work things out, then you just give all that love that you couldn't finish giving, then you receive all the love that you couldn't be receiving. It's a beautiful occasion. It's not morbid. It's not that you're there, hanging on to this dead person. No, you're there to remind yourself, to remind them that you are indeed, that you love them, that they love you, that it's all okay, and the forgiveness process can come in. And it's not until, if somebody hurt you, if somebody did something awful for you, it's gonna be coming from a wounded place. Okay, this person is on a wounded place, that's unable to give that love, unable to rise to that wonderful energy called love and compassion and brotherhood and all that. Now, we do this every year. It really helps. Number one, you bring your family, you bring your mom, and all these feelings may come back. And it's important for you to understand them, to feel them, to see them, and to have these conversations. Is that part of this person in you that you're talking to? So then you keep this dialogue going, cleaning your energy. So then when it's your time to exit the body, you can maybe go straight to that other one there. And meantime, you call Mekante Kutli, Mekante Siwatl, and bring them here, and then you go through the forgiveness process. And we don't really have the time to do anything like this today, because we are kind of short. And I wasn't actually expecting, I'm leaving tomorrow, but I said, I'm coming today.
Thank you.
Can you tell what they do in Oaxaca during this period?
The cemeteries are open. You go to the cemetery. You don't go to anywhere else. You go to the cemetery. And the cemetery will have the orchestra right there, playing gay tunes, okay? It's not gonna be like, for you to cry. No, I'm gonna cry, and people are dancing, people are crying, people are dancing, people are hugging each other, people are laughing, people come in and express everything that they want to express. And the tombs are a work of art. Okay, it's a beautiful form of art with sand paintings. So if your deity, your favorite deity was Mother Mary, they will make a big Mother Mary on your tomb with flowers and with this and with that. And so it's actually beautiful going there and looking at it. And then all sorts of groups, a tremendous expression of art, from dance to poetry, to singing, of course, and then you get these projections. I saw one of the projections on the cemetery, on the wall of the cemetery, where they say that the butterflies are going to be the people that are coming down in a spirit. So you get a lot of butterflies coming in, and then you see the ghosts, coming in and out of this whatever scenario, and so on. So there are light shows, it's a 3-day party, okay, and plus. And then you go on the streets, walking on the street, and my gosh, right here, on the door of the restaurant, there's going to be an altar. Right there on the, just on the bench of the park, somebody will come in with his skeleton and everything. So if you ever have the chance to go to a Mexican, especially the towns that still keep the tradition more intact, more filled up, it is wonderful. Michoacan, I believe, has another one very large, with boats. They go into the center of the lake in Michoacan, and so on. So it's a case of, pick your day, go there. It's wonderful because it's not hot at all. It's actually cooler Not cold, but definitely cooler. A little like here, with the hot sun, but cool. So it's very pleasant to be. And you go out in the streets and there is a performance here and there is another group playing dances there. They give you these schedules. So it's a complete, from this time to this time, the children from the whatever school of dance are going to come and perform. From the 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, the orchestra of the whatever is going to come to the park and perform, and so on. So it's non-stop. It's a beautiful holiday, and definitely worth going. I don't think anyone is here from the people who went to Oaxaca with me, but we made a trip one time. It was wonderful. We always said to her, tell me, but.
As an angel, I went down to Oaxaca, and I had forgotten, because I was going like 5 or 6 days early, so I didn't think of Day of the Dead. I just didn't, for some reason, didn't strike. So I got wound up in it. It was so wonderful. And my mother had just died about 3 or 4 weeks, which is why I probably didn't connect with. But if you ever have the opportunity, but don't think you're gonna see anything in town. This is the city of Oaxaca. It's busy downtown all the time. It's constant motion back and forth. And I've been there several times before, and it was so weird to stand at the church, which is kind of up here, and it goes to the Zocalo, which has another church down at the bottom. And there's nobody on the streets, absolutely nobody. You could walk down the middle of the street and you'd never see a car or a person, because everybody is out at the cemetery, and they are. And it took me in, didn't make any difference that I spoke horrible Spanish, and very little of it, even what was there. But they embraced me, took me in, fed me, danced with me, sang. It was an experience. So if you're ever making a bucket list, do that, because it is something I really think was one of the best times I ever had.
It touches everyone who manages to be there. So yeah, so anytime, let's make
You never know when you come to church, you might be grabbed and
Maybe grab.
I have one thing. I read yesterday that the Day of the Dead, the Mexican Day of the Dead, was actually originally in the summer. And then, which makes sense maybe from some of the outside stuff. And then, as with many things, they wanted to connect the pagan holiday that had all of the activity with the Christian holiday that they were switching to. And then that's when they moved it to essentially November 1st.
Right, that's great. And if you're interested, go online. Oak Knoll is having a big event. I believe it's today. Most all cemeteries now are realizing that this is a way to have people come and see their beautiful grounds and to appreciate visiting people and where after they've passed on. So if you get a chance, and this is something that really you would be interested in, please do. There's a lot of things there.
San Francisco has a pretty good show too. If you go to, I believe it's Guadalupe Park.
Yes,
Guadalupe. And they put altars.
Right. They put it on, yeah.
And then there is a march of the Day of the Dead. Everybody dresses as skeletons, It's this business of remembering the bones of who you are. And
And I agree with you, if you haven't seen the movie Coco, please do.
Yeah.
You can get it on demand now.
you understand a lot.
Incredible. One of those things that Disney did that you go, yes, this is wonderful. And but it's interesting that both Halloween and Dia de los Muertos are growing in popularity at a time that they feel that folks are becoming less interested in their faith or religion, and then we have these that are coming up that are growing. And so please find a way of thinking about everybody is going to be leaving the planet at some time. And why don't you find a way to celebrate those who have gone on? There are many ways you can do that and celebrate. One of the things you didn't mention, Laura, there's quite a bit of tequila involved in that, isn't there?
Yes.
I was
The
reading
tequila
that
makes
there's,
your clothes
you know,
fall off.
the marigolds and hard liquor together. Yes, David?
I find it interesting that in Japan, the old one festival has taken off too, about the same time.
The Oban Festival, yes.
Celebration of the spirit of your ancestors.
Right, right.
So
Being able to
it's,
touch
yeah,
your end.
it's taken off at about the same time. It's like,
Yeah.
amazing to me that's happening at
Yes,
the same time.
very, very interesting. Maybe it's the aging of the planet.
Yeah, it might be.
Actually, just to announce, there's La Última Parada is happening today from noon to 6 at the Mexican Heritage Center
Okay.
in San Jose on Alum Rock and Story, I believe. And it's a beautiful Dia de los Muertos celebration with Aztec dancers.
And is it outside or inside?
It's outside, and they have ofrendas, the altars set up inside to individual family members as well as group altars for people who have been killed. There are all kinds of different altars that are beautiful, and I've seen in other years where they had the traditional flower, the marigolds within the altars, and it's a really beautiful event.
Well, thank you. One
I
of the
can tell
things
you.
that has happened food-wise for our community meal today is that we're having a lot of Mexican food, which I think is very wonderful, well, kind of Americanized, I'm sure, but yeah, we have tortillas and meat and rice and all sorts of interesting things back there. Some chips and, you know.
Pork and beans?
Pork and beans, oh yeah.
Well, those pork and beans have a Mexican flavor to them.
So please stay around, we'd like you to join us in our community meal. And
I haven't had
so this is the time that we're going to pass the basket.
Oh, pass the basket.
We have the basket.
We have baskets.
Yeah, somewhere we have
Oh my
baskets.
No, it's not.
I honestly, they might even be on top of my printer.
That's what happens when, you know, Miss Norma's not here.
Yeah.
She always hunts down the baskets. Well, hold off on a minute till we get the baskets here.
Well, it said that, the beginning.
You weren't having.
You can all take your donation and put it between your
Let's go ahead and do, there we are. Giving to the ministry from which we receive our spiritual support and nurturing is an affirmation and consciousness of the truth that Spirit is the prospering power enriching every area of our lives. And blesses me abundantly. All I give comes back to me, blesses me abundantly. All I give comes back to me, blesses me abundantly. All I give comes back to me, blesses me abundantly. All I give comes back to me, blesses me abundantly. All I give comes back to me and blesses me abundantly. All I give comes back to me, blesses me abundantly. All I give comes back to me, blesses me abundantly.
And I want to talk about our blessings, that we are receiving abundantly. Reverend Ann,